It's extremely, extremely tough to hunt these buggers.
I don't really want to kill every boar in the world.
They just keep coming.
An invasive species is generally a non-native plant or animal causing damage to our natural environment.
One of the main problems of invasive species is that they outcompete and then crowd out and then eliminate native species from the environment. So they will essentially replace a native species.
Wild boar is not a native animal to the area. It's an introduced species.
Wild pigs are common in California, particularly in the Coast Range, more so than in the Sierras, but they were introduced originally in North America and South America by around AD 1500 by the Spanish, and then as they brought domestic pigs with them, it's very common for domestic pigs to go feral and do well in the wild.
Pigs were brought into California in the 1700s, and some of the domestic pigs at that time went feral. And then in the 1920s, I think it was, a landowner in Monterey imported the European wild boar, and then the wild boar crossed with those feral domestic pigs, so we now have a resulting feral pig hybrid.
Wild European boars were introduced for hunting, for game purposes. Pigs are pretty resistant to being preyed upon by mountain lions and other predators in the area. So what they would kind of do is just release their pigs to be kind of free range, where they would go out and root around in the forest, then come back at night for shelter and for water and things like that. And eventually some of those pigs will then drift off and no longer be part of the pack.
Up until the 1900s, we had grizzly bear. We also had herds of elk, 3 kinds of elk: Tule elk, Roosevelt elk, Rocky Mountain elk. We had wolves, we had mountain lions, we had pronghorn. So we had the same kind of herbivore, carnivore assemblages that we had during the Pleistocene in the modern era as well. We don't have those today, but in the absence of those, we still need disturbance on the land. And I believe that in some ways, pigs are some of that disturbance and can be reapplied to the land.
If you think about agriculture and tillage, what is the purpose of tillage, right? It's to disturb the site and break up the aggregates in the soil that the nutrients can be liberated and brought into a form that can be uptaken by plants. And actually what these pigs are doing is something very similar to our agricultural practice of tilling soil. They're disturbing a soil, and by doing that, they're allowing the microbes that live in that soil to mineralize or transform nutrients and make them available. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Disturbance is attendant with land health and has been, as we understand it, for millennia.
I am a pest control advisor, that is a crop consultant for growers. I also farm. Boars spread disease in terms of plant diseases. They can harbor those in their skin, fur, and they can spread it from one plant to another, usually having to do with permanent crops. That would be trees, tree nuts, and the likes.
Currently, the orchards that I have, we farm about 50 acres of walnuts, and then we have about a 300-acre project of almonds. We have the worst problem in our orchards. Pigs come down out of the hills, scavenging for more feed. They find the leftover nuts that are on the ground in the orchards, whether it's the walnuts or the almonds, and then they start rooting through there.
Boar do represent some ecological problems. Some of the bigger ecological effects include the turning over of soil through the rooting, redistribution of seeds, creating wallows.
They usually take their rooting behavior, digging up the ground for feeding purposes, and they'll move that disease from one tree to another within the orchard itself or between two orchards.
All these pigs, both the domestic ones and the feral pigs, have a very broad-based omnivorous diet and can eat a whole variety of things, which contributes to why they're so adaptable and why they've spread so effectively and why they're hard for farmers to eradicate. They would love to come into farm fields, root crops, or orchards and take advantage of all the rich food there.
And they come down to the valley and eat up quite a bit of our crops. They like the almond orchards, walnuts. They love to root around and look for bugs and worms and grubs and various things.
Keeping pigs out of your field, if you're next to the hills, is really hard because there's just a never-ending factory.
The one benefit of the wild boar in these hills is the recreational hunting of them, which a lot of people enjoy a lot, and it is an additional, can be, if you do it right, an additional source of income for the rancher. It's a good way to get rid of them and make a little bit of money. And if you're a hunter, it's fun. They have a good time doing that. So that is the only benefit. My personal opinion is that benefit is not a high enough benefit to say, let's keep the pig around. We'd rather see them gone.
The difference between a walk in the woods and hunting is that when you enter the woods with a gun, you are prepared to kill. And that changes everything. Your senses, both hearing and visual, but also even smell, are exaggerated and accentuated in ways that don't occur in just ordinary life.
The impact has been destruction of the irrigation systems, the destruction or ruining of the soil platform for harvest and for management. It all has to be reworked every year because the boars get in and root around and dig. So that's just a monetary impact of more time, more people to remedy what they're doing. And it probably will go up to maybe $200 or $250 an acre in the affected areas to try and clean up what the boars have done.
They completely destroy our orchard floors. We had just got done finishing disking, tri-planting, and flattening out our orchard for next year's harvest, and now we will have to do the whole process again. While they're in the orchard, they're also rubbing and chewing on the trees, causing more galls, causing more damage to the trees. So they're very, very destructive between, like I said, the damage they do to the trees, the damage they're doing to the soil, and then also our irrigation systems are just getting annihilated by them.
Donde se vienen a esconder aquí para andar comiendo todas las nueces que quedan. Y cuando está regado, pues vienen a escarbar en la humedad, a mascar las mangueras cuando no hay agua. Mascan mangueras, quebran esprincos, hacen muchos hoyos para buscar humedad, para mitigar el calor.
We have issues with them tearing through our fences. You have a lot of issues of them rooting around and just causing havoc.
You try and control or keep the populations down or scare them away. I don't really want to kill every boar in the world. If it just leaves me alone or any of my growers alone and we get them out, then we've accomplished everything we need. The problem is the foothills dry up. There's food source down here in the valley. There's water from irrigation. They wouldn't be here unless they really kind of needed to exist.
They'll get into their big group of anywhere from 5 to 35 pigs, I've seen it. And single file, march right on down. You can drive around, you find a pig trail, go straight up, straight down. Typically you can wait there during the late evenings or early mornings and you can catch them crossing it.
Cuando los mira uno de repente en las huertas, cuando va uno trabajando, pues sí asustan porque a veces pues pueden ser agresivos, pero si no les acercamos, lo que hacemos es hablar a alguien y ya el que los mira pues nos habla a nosotros y ya venimos y tratamos de correrlos, de matarlos o para que no estén haciendo daño aquí.
They have been known to kill the dogs. We personally have had one border collie killed on this ranch from a wild boar. Now, granted, the wild boar wasn't hunting him out, but he got startled and did kill the dog immediately.
We've tried everything from different types of methods to try and keep them out. Fences, we've tried deterrents, dogs. I mean, we've tried everything to run them, chase them, and keep them out, and they are very, very determined animal. Once they figure out there's a food source, you can't hardly keep them away. They just keep coming.
There's been a lot of work around this particular area to eradicate pigs. There used to be pigs in the Big Chico Creek watershed. They're no longer here. I think the nearest southernmost in this region is up at Dye Creek, in the Dye Creek Preserve, which is a Nature Conservancy property. They have pigs there, and there's a hunting program up there to try to keep them in balance or eradicate them.
We have a hunting program on the property, which does help keep the population in check, but the pigs cross over boundaries. It's not an island. We're not ever going to be able to exterminate all the pigs on the property, but hunting is one method to keep feral pigs in check. We also have tried trapping with limited success. We had predators get involved in that trapping experiment, but hunting is our main means for keeping the pigs at bay.
A veces matamos unos, pero
no se deja.
La razón es para asustarlos, pero no, eso no los espanta. No vienen por unos 2 días, pero después vuelven otra vez. Pero son muchísimos los que vienen.
California now has changed the laws on shooting lead bullets. We have to shoot a copper bullet now.
We have been non-leaded. We've observed non-leaded ammunition for years before the state of California went to non-leaded ammunition. But we have our hunting rights outsourced to a local concessionaire, and the pig hunts on this particular property are guided only.
This day and age, the most common weapons would be a 223 or a AR type rifle, because it allows you to shoot many times, because usually you're dealing with 10 to 20 boars or pigs in a group. That would be one type, and that's used for the smaller of the pigs. You start getting up into a true big boar of 225 pounds to 250 to 275. That round will not penetrate well enough. And so we use what's called a 308, also a military type round, but all of these are soft points or something that will expand. And we're doing that because the smaller rounds can't actually physically penetrate the larger pigs.
I've hunted pigs in this country for years, and I use my little 247, and I use a 120 grain bullet, and it's the same rifle that I've dropped an elk, same rifle that I've dropped a deer, same rifle that I've dropped an antelope. That'll drop a pig, and it's one shot. So I don't need a bazooka to kill a wild hog. I need to be a good shot.
The tagging process, if you want to hunt any big game animal, you have to have a tag. Pig tags are over the counter. There's no draw for them. I believe you could buy as many as you want a year. When you kill a pig, you need to attach the tag to the pig carcass. Same as a deer or an antelope or a bear, they're all the same. Some zones on deer are draw zones, elk zones are all draw zones. So you can't just go and buy a tag whenever you want one.
Pigs can be taken at any time of the year. It's more desirable from a hunting perspective to be out in spring weather, but technically we can depredate at any time of the year.
Puercos como de 200 libras y menos, pero hemos visto unos demasiado grandes, mucho grandes. Cuando toca que matamos uno, dos o así, pues los preparamos, los limpiamos, los colgamos para limpiarlos y después pues nos llevamos la carne, la dejamos enfriar y pues la cocinamos, la repartimos en los que trabajamos aquí y la dejamos que se enfríe unos días. Después hacemos carnitas.
They're coming out with new types of traps to live trap them, but that is hard work, and you have to get back to the traps every day so you can take care of them. But they also have new traps that are being designed that only open to feed the boar, and they'll put some type of stomach poison or something in it. That's being done in Texas, and it shows promise. And that is the sound of a boar or a pig eating. It's one of the few animals that makes a certain type of grunting sound when eating. Deer don't, fox don't, squirrels, all the rest don't make this. And so it's a automated feeder that will open when hearing the grunting of a boar. The boar will then stick its snout in there and eat. And then after a couple minutes, it closes on that so that just doesn't take all the food. And it goes off and it dies peacefully. That's one of the newer things. But other than that, and just taking a rifle or a pistol and shooting or trying to eradicate them is the only way right now.
There is now a weapon called Track Point, which is fully computerized. It's got laser sights and it is computer driven, and you set up your gun on a tripod and your laptop or your iPad, and you put the scope on an animal and you laser tag it, and then as the animal moves, the laser moves with it, and then when you see the laser at the spot that you want, that kill spot, all you do is press enter.
We're working out some ideas, but we really I don't think have a great solution for it yet, as far as eradication.
If you had wild packs of dogs, just like you do horses, we have a lot of emotional attachment to dogs and horses. So there's no hunting of wild horses in the US. Elsewhere there is. Pigs, people don't have that same attachment to, like dogs or cats. I personally think they should, because they're an incredibly smart animal.
Think of all the slanderous names associated with pigs. If you're fat, if you're slovenly, there's a lot of ways that people use the analog of a pig as a negative thing.
Hunting boars to reduce the population probably isn't the answer. Maybe for a little bit, but I know in other parts, like in Texas, they have helicopters and everybody out trying to shoot them, and it's a losing battle. And now they're looking towards mass poisonings and interrupting the mating cycle. And they probably won't do away with them all anyway. So, yeah, hunting is probably just a drop in the bucket. When we're all gone, there's still going to be pigs here. They'll outlive us.